town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Make We Talk program this afternoon here on WZPP and WZOP, the voice of the Caribbean, where we listen from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is the Make We Talk program, the number one talk show program here in South Florida. This afternoon, I have with me my good friend, retired FBI agent Wilfred Rattigan. Mr. Rattigan, welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeffrey, and big up to all your listening audience.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Rattigan, we're going to speak about $2.3 billion in loan and donor funds between 2015 and 2018. I went down to the land of wood and water. Some of it was helped. Some of it was also there to help to fight crime. Yet this morning we're hearing the Prime Minister saying enough is enough. When criminals attack our children, we must speak out. Well, we the people of Jamaica is saying to you, Prime Minister, enough of the chat between you and the Minister of National Security. By the way, the views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the radio station of the Make We Talk program. Mr. Rattigan?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and tell us about the $2.3 billion in loans and donor funds, sir.
No, from 2015 to 2018, I've been doing some research regarding funds received by the Jamaican government. And it appears that approximately more than $2 billion was received between 2015 and 2018 in terms of donor funds, loans, etc. And we're trying to figure out where that money went. And so far, we're not quite sure where the money went. We also do know that the Minister of National Security mentioned that he has been spending, or Jamaica had committed $1.2 billion with a B US dollars to fight crime, to deal with national security issues in Jamaica from fiscal year 2016 through fiscal year 2022, I think, or 23. And when you look at the results, I don't think we have gotten, and I don't think we're getting a bang for the buck, so to speak, because the crime rate is still at an intolerable level. And when you talk to people in Jamaica, they don't feel safe, no matter where they live. You know, there's a time when only people like in the inner city community would say, well, we don't really feel safe. But now if you ask urban, suburban, rural, city dwellers, no matter who you talk to, they just don't feel safe. Now they'll come out with this bogus statistic to tell you that people say they feel safe in their neighborhood, but they really don't feel safe when they have to travel outside their neighborhood. To me, that's neither here nor there, because the way I look at it, people have to travel. People have to go out for work, for school, for shopping, visit relatives, entertainment, a whole bunch of reasons. So I think the real statistic should be, how do you feel about traveling in and around Jamaica? Not how do you feel about traveling in your little neighborhood? It's nonsense. That's not that. And what that does, it obscures the real trepidation and the real fear of crime, because of course most people will tell you that they feel good in their neighborhood because they know everybody, or they shouldn't, they know a lot of people in their neighborhood, so they feel a little bit secure than they would going out. And you see what happens when people travel outside their community. Them get shot like blackbird. You see it all the time, day in, day out, double murder, triple murder, quadruple murder. That's the order of the day. So people cannot feel safe in such a situation. And then you go back to, okay, where did the funding go? I thought the funding along with the policy, the Plan Secure Jamaica, that's ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous the way it's written, but the way it's implemented, the crime plan, or they call it the National Security Plan. They want to sound like them know what them are doing now. So they don't call it a crime plan anymore. They call it a National Security Plan. but they have no clue. You know, them just a follow fashion. Them see people that put up them things about national security plan, them jump up on national security plan. Meanwhile, them can't fight crime on a local level, or them will fight it on a national level. Rubbish.
So based on all of this, Mr. Rattigan, the 2.3 billion US dollars that came into Jamaica as donor funds and loans, there's no accountability for it. And go ahead.
No, finish, please.
And the crime situation is out of whack. Prime example. Yesterday evening, I did a breaking news on the Make We Talk news thing that a taxi was shot up or shoot up in Springfield in St. James. The constituency of the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security. 2 schoolboys, primary schoolboys, were dead, shot dead by gunmen. And this morning, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, in a press release, said, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has condemned the killing of 3 persons, including 2 primary school boys, in St. James last evening, saying, when children are attacked, all of society must stand up and say enough is enough. The people of Jamaica is saying to the Prime Minister, I'm pretty much sure they are, saying to the Prime Minister, Mr. Rattigan, that enough of your chat. It's action time now, Mr. Rattigan.
No, man, it's not action time now. Action time come and gone a long time, man. We shouldn't be action for action now. He's talking about the 2 schoolboys that got shot up. Did he make the same statement about Philip Powell's 8-month-old daughter, 10-month-old daughter? How about the other people? And I'm not saying he shouldn't say it for these. He shouldn't come out and make such a statement for these 2 children who were brutally gunned down.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that if you're going to be the comforter in chief, then you need to be the comforter in chief all the time, not just here or there, because other people who lost children probably wondering, how come you never said that about my picnic, you know? And the thing of talk is cheap. Talk is cheap because, you know, you talk. It's one thing to talk and not have the money to implement some policies that can you know, do something about the spiraling crime rate. That's one thing. But when you have the money and you're clean that you have the money, you're clean that you're spending the money, and then people can't see the results, then we're no longer looking at so much the policy of the spending. We're looking at you. We're looking at you as a leader.
Yes.
And we just don't see any leadership qualities coming out of the office or the person. We just don't see it. At least not as far as maybe in some other areas, but as far as crime is concerned, we don't see it. And then also ask yourself the question, where is the Minister of National Security in all of this? Where is the police commissioner in all of this? Where are they? They've been silent. You remember they were bragging and boasting not too long ago about the homicide rate going down. I know the homicide rate is spiraling out of control. It's probably, if it's not number 1, I'm sure it's in the top 3 in the world right now. The homicide rate.
Yes. I'm
sure it's in the top 3 in the world. And we've been promised that, oh no, you know, give us another year. Every year when they have the sectoral debates or when they have the speech in Parliament, the throne speech made by the Governor General and so on and so forth, they all talk about this Plan Secure Jamaica and how they're going to be improving the lives of policemen, improve their working conditions, improve this and improve that. And instead, look at what they've done. They were given 1 year to implement the overtime system to pay the policemen and women. 1 year they were given, and from last year, February, I think, until March 31st of this year. And here we are, right? Early November, and the system has not been fully implemented, even though the money was disbursed, based on what I've been told, the money was disbursed by the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of National Security to put the system in place. And what we have, I don't want to describe anybody in a derogatory manner, but we're just not seeing the kind of results that the people deserve in Jamaica. We're just not seeing it. You cannot pay the police. You're not giving them uniforms. Oh, by the way, I was just going to talk about vehicles. The Japanese government in June, I believe it was, gave them over $1 million to purchase 30-something vehicles and 5 ambulances.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
5
We don't
ambulances.
hear anything more about that.
Hold on there for me, Mr. Rattigan. We have some callers going to call you and speak to us too. You have 5 ambulance for the hospitals. Yet on Sunday was it Sunday or Saturday evening? I got a call, and they're saying to me that Black River don't have an ambulance. Savlamar hardly have one. So the question must be asked: where all these donor funds is going? What is going on?
Well, I've been told, and for all of your listeners out there curious about donor funds and the fact that 2.3 BillionUS went to Jamaica between 2015 and 2018, and we can't get any paperwork on how the money was spent. We can't really get any accountability. I mean, that should speak volumes to people. That should speak volumes that where is the money? The can't say the money never arrived. The money arrived in Jamaica. And yet we can't see the results of the money arriving in Jamaica. Because if they had spent that money wisely, and that's just from 2015 to 2018, we're not talking about 2019 through 22 or 23, right? Because they've got more money because they got more money over the COVID period, right? There was no COVID in 2018. And we still cannot say the lives of the Jamaican people have not been made any better by funds coming in. And I've been told by some well-placed sources that one of the reasons why you don't see the manifestation of the money on the lives of the people is because once a politician, and this is what I was told, once the politicians hear that donor funds are coming from, European Union, USAID, Japan, China, wherever, then quickly farm up consultancies. I them have them family or friends farm up consultancies. I them have consultancies that on the shelves. And what they do is, if you look at it, I was told, like for every dollar, I was told that remarkably, almost 80% of it goes to administrative costs, including consultancies. So only about approximately 20% of every dollar will actually go towards a program. And that's why we cannot see the impact that these funds are having on the lives of the ordinary Jamaicans. We just don't see it because the money is not spent in the areas and in the amount that they should be spent. The monies are not spent like that. They're spent paying off consultancies to say, oh, let's do a feasibility study, let's do an assessment, and then charge a whole bungalow of money. And when you look at what's left, it's not much left to take care of the issue that the money actually came in to address. So we have some serious problems there, and this has been going on for a long time. And I haven't heard. I think there's only one person I've heard who's called for an inquiry regarding this, and he's just an activist. He's not a politician of any stripe.
That's Mr.
So you ask yourself,
that is Mr. Lloyd Aguilar.
Yes, I heard that he's been asking about donor funds now for years, and he's not making any headway. So what we're doing is we're planning to file a lawsuit. I was hoping to do it this week, but looks like no more than likely. It's going to be next week.
Yes.
And it's gonna ask about these donor funds. We're going to take it to court and have somebody show up and explain where did the money go and provide the paperwork, because we've been told that there is no paperwork. And I just find that unbelievable that you have billions of US dollars coming into Jamaica to support the people of Jamaica, and there is no paperwork. So what that means, when you don't have any paperwork, it means that there's no accountability. You can't tell where the money went, how it was spent, any oversight, we can't tell. And yet the same people were claiming that they don't have any paperwork. They're the ones putting out annual report. So if you're putting out annual report on monies received, but you say you don't have any paperwork, there's a disconnect right there. So,
Mr. Rattigan, based on all of this 2 point something billion US is nearly 1.5 trillion Jamaican dollars, if my calculation is right.
Yeah, well, look, Jamaica, look, my people, especially those in Jamaica, listen to that number. Listen to that number. Was it 1/3 of a trillion?
1/3 of a trillion Jamaican dollars. 2.3 billion US. 1/3 of a trillion Jamaican dollars was sent down in Jamaica between 2015 to 2018.
Yeah, we're going to get the numbers from 2018 to 2022 because 2023 we won't be able to get those until next year. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a ridiculous amount of money because if you recall, people, in one fell swoop, Jamaica received approximately 750 million US dollars in loans from the IDB, IMF, and the World Bank. And this was for COVID. So remember, 2018, there was no COVID, right? So in one go, them get 750 million. This was during the COVID period, 2020 thereabouts. So you can already see how much money went to Jamaica, and that's just a loan, and it went for 2 communities. The money was supposed to be dispersed to the business community and the vulnerable community, poor people. Ask how many poor people, how much money them get out of that. Because them set up all kinds of schemes. You have to have access to the internet, you have to have accounts, you have to have this, you have to have that. A lot of poor people don't have that. And so the question is, where did that money go? And the shameful part about it, the disgraceful part about it, is that a lot of the people who were supposed to get the money and didn't get it, they're going to have to help pay back that loan. They are the children, them children and them grandchildren will have to help to pay back that $750 million loan.
So right now, when you listen to all of this, Mr. Rattigan, it make your hair on your head stand up. And you ask the question, is this the Jamaica that they're talking about to live, work, and raise family?
In the words of one of my favorite ministers, that will never happen. That will never happen. And I call the name.
We're speaking to Wilfred. Mr. Rattigan, the phone is buzzing off the hook. We're gonna take a call. You don't mind?
No, sir.
Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to the Make We Talk program. We're speaking to retired FBI agent, talk show host, attorney at law, Wilfred Rattigan. Caller?
Questions, really. And I can hang up and listen to the response.
What is your question, sir? Go ahead.
If the opposition party was in power, would the crime rate, the economy, would what's happening in Jamaica, the corruption, all of that, would it have made any difference if it was the other party in power? That's one. My other question is that, don't you think that both parties should work collectively to put crime and violence and all of these things, have some solution to it and put it to an end? Because if I remember clearly, there was some suggestions that was made for some time ago for every Jamaican to carry an ID, and the other party had shut it down and said no, there's no need for that. And so, could you shed some light on that? I'll listen off here.
Thank you very much for your call. Mr. Rattigan, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me respond to the caller like this. The caller was saying, the first question was whether or not if the opposition, whether or not I believe the opposition, if they were in the government, if crime would be under control or whatever. Well, here's my answer to that. I take people as I find them. I don't make assumptions about certain things. I just deal with the reality on the ground. And what we have is we have a government. And in Jamaica, as I say, it's one government at a time. So I'm not going to spend my resources and my focus and start thinking about what if the other party was in power. I'm dealing with this party is in power and what are they doing? Because once you start making comparisons, you get distracted from the issues. And then issues get watered down. And I don't want to do that by saying, what if? I don't know what if. I know what is, right? I know what is going on now. And so it's hard for me to speculate and say, well, what if the PNP was in power? Would crime be lower? The one thing I can say, if you want to make a comparison, and although I hate doing this, but I'll do it just for the caller. If you go back and you look at the opposition party now, when they were in power, if you go back and you look at the crime rate back then, and you look at how much they spent, and you look at how many states of emergency and they didn't have Zozos at that time, but how many states of emergency and curfews they had, you'll find that one, the crime rate was lower. Two, they didn't have. I think the last state of emergency was I think early 80s or back in the 70s, and they didn't spend the kind of money that the government is claiming that it has spent. So if you have to make a comparison, you say to yourself, then how is it that they were able to keep the crime rate lower than what it is right now, and they didn't spend that much money. They didn't have all of these violations of the Constitution called states of emergency, right? And they had fewer people on the force. So some people will look at it and say, well, it's not a fair comparison and so on and so forth. And that's why I don't like getting into comparisons. I just like to deal with what I have in front of me. And so, Carla, while I would like to give you an answer as to whether or not a PNP-led government, if they would be able to curtail crime, I can't do that. I'm just looking at what's going on right now, and we should all focus on coming up with solutions to deal with this crime problem as it is right now, because that's our reality.
Yes.
The supposition is not our reality.
Yes.
That's just for academic purposes. But while we're doing that, people are dying. So let's focus on that.
Yes.
And the second question had to do with what was the second question again, Jeffrey?
The IDs. The government want to issue IDs, new IDs, and I think he's talking about the NIDs.
He said something before that. It was before the ID.
I don't remember what he said. I don't remember what he said.
Oh no, no. I know. He said if the two parties can come together and collaborate and coordinate and try and deal with the crime issue. They've given us speeches, fancy speeches over the years. Both parties have given us fancy speeches about working together and curtailing crime and so on and so forth. The last time we had something like this done was back in 2000. We had some consensus monitoring on crime just before the election. And that was a collaboration between the opposition, the government, the private sector, civil society, NGOs, the churches, a whole group of, I think it was like 28 groups of people. And they came together with one purpose. And the purpose was to deal with the crime issue. And you see what happened? You see what happened?
Yes.
The crime issue has not been dealt with.
We have another call coming in, Mr. Rattigan. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Make We Talk program. We're speaking to Wilfred Rattigan. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your guest. I'll take a stab at the question that was asked. If the People's National Party, which was in power for 18 years, non-stop, and if they would make a difference. And I would say, based on their track record, no. And I want to correct something David said. Crime actually trended way up under the Patterson administration, Portia Simpson administration, under the various leadership of Peter Phillips, who was once security minister, who I went to a town hall meeting and confronted him about the level, the escalation.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I want to say to you,
you have a question to ask?
Yes, I want to ask you, is I notice you push, the critique of the government, which is fine.
I do what?
I'm talking to David.
Who's David?
Your guest. Your guest.
His name is Wilfred Rattigan, sir.
Rattigan?
Yes.
What his first name is?
Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent,
Wilfred.
sir.
Oh, why I thought it was David. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're coming up on a commercial break, do you know?
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you, you emphasized the role of the Jamaican government to solve this issue. But I think it's wider than that, particularly as it relates to the diaspora.
We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WZOP 92.7 LP FM.
We're not. This is why we have to pray for this nation.
I tell you.
Because of the level of corruption that is going on in this country. And it seems as if the former Minister of Finance, at that time he was dubbed as the world-class Minister of Finance. It seems like termite eat out his brain. He does not remember the locking down of Central Bank. A lot of Jamaicans committed suicide and have heart attack because of that. It seems as if he has a amnesia going on. Something is fundamentally wrong with Mr. Davis. How dare him come out and talk about corruption? Dr. Omar Davies, these are not the views of Roots 96.1 FM. These are the views of me as citizens of this country, Jeffrey Tavares. Dr. Omar Davies, you have no moral authority to be speaking about corruption in the history in this country. Dr. Davies, you and the People's National Party has no moral authority to be speaking about corruption. Don't get me wrong, corruption going on right now in the PNP, in the JLP administration. It is going on right now. And that's why the level of crime is out of whack. Because corruption stinks to the highest heaven. But how dare this man, where in the 1990s Jamaicans suffer under his physical policies of the 1990s. They come talking about you never know that there's so much corruption going on in this country, in your life. But let me remind you of something that you did in the 2002 election, Dr. Davis, where you admitted to the people of this country that you acted corruptly. In other words, you acted irresponsible, and you make it clear to the people of this country. You remember the time when they said run with it? Dr. Davis?
Comrades, are you ready? Comrades, we say it over and over again that young people are the future. But the way young people are being treated in this country at this time has to change. It must change. Time come.
Life just seems so tough.
Welcome back to the Make We Talk program here on WZPP and WZOP, the voice of the Caribbean. We're speaking to retired FBI agent, talk show host, attorney at law, Wilfred Rattigan. Mr. Rattigan, welcome back to the program. Caller, are you still there?
Yeah.
Ask your question for me, please, sir, because we don't have enough time.
Yeah. So, Wilfred, the question, and I have to make a background on it. We know that the government is not focusing, successive government, on this whole matter of crime, and particularly guns that are flooding into the island and the Caribbean from the United States. In that regard, what effort, if your organization is involved in any, to make that also a central focus? Because no matter what we do in Jamaica, trying to police the weapon, if the weapons are freely flowing out of the United States into places like Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas, Trinidad, Belize, and all of it, and that's well documented.
Yes, caller, but you got to ask the question to Mr. Rattigan, because we don't have enough time on the program, sir.
What approach, or shouldn't the approach also be to tackle, and not just a score points with the government where it really leads nowhere, but to really put that kind of influence of the diaspora, yourself, your organization, behind those kind of issues that we can highlight.
Yes. Mr. Rattigan, you want to answer the question? Call, you can hang on and listen to the question. Listen to the answer, please. Mr. Rattigan, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, you described me, call me as David, and sometimes I really do feel like David and Goliath thing, going up against the Goliath of crime and the government and sometimes the opposition too, because I lick both of them, because I'm all for the people of Jamaica. So he mentioned that the crime was trending up on our various PNP organizations. I challenge him to go back and look at the statistics, and what he will find is that from 2016 until now, the crime rate has never been like this. It has never been like this. I think at one point, a few years, I think it was 2014 or so, I think it went down to a little over 1,000. We haven't seen that since 2016. We haven't seen that homicide rate since 2016. And back then, if you had asked people except when they had the political warfare piece, but when you ask people about how do they feel about crime in Jamaica, the response that they would have given you then is markedly different from the response that they give you now. So enough about that. All I'm going to say to the callers, go back and look at the homicide rate, right? And then compare all of it from if you want to go back to the 80s, look at the actual numbers, and what you must also look at is the percentage for the number per 100,000, and do it come all the way up to now, and you'll see the point that I'm making is glaringly clear, and you'll understand. The second point he raised was about what advice we can give, because the country is awash with guns. Now, I'll have the caller know that there was a town hall meeting a few years ago. I think it was 2020, maybe 2020, 2021.
Hold on, Ratty. Don't buy the ambassador for Washington office, eh?
Right. The town hall meetings hosted by the Jamaican ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Audrey Marks, and she had as a guest the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, and they were I think they were a little over 200 people in that conference call, right? On that Zoom call. All right, and they were leaders in the diaspora who were petitioning him to have people expertise, law enforcement expertise, to come back to Jamaica and help. And his response was, we don't need any here. We're very qualified. We have the people we need. If you want to come back and make a speech, we will approve a speech. But in terms of coming back and sitting down with us and helping us, no, we don't need your help. So that's the first thing.
And remember, he said also, Mr. Rattigan, that he doesn't want the expertise. Just send him the money, come.
Send the money, right. And if you have stuff to offer to the police, send it to the minister, to the ambassador, and she will get it to the ministry, and then they will do the distribution. So they have made it abundantly clear that they have no interest in working with the diaspora in terms of solving crime. Now, some people have put the idea forward that maybe they don't want us to help because once we start, we're going to find out who the real crooks are, right? And so they're afraid of that. The politicians are afraid of that, and so they don't want us because most of us in the diaspora, we're not beholden to Jamaica. We don't owe anybody any favors. They don't have any secrets for us. So we can come down and be truly independent and objective. And they can't tell us where to look and where not to look. Right? So the best thing to do is not to have us, because that would be like committing suicide for them, to have us come in and start looking through the books and start doing helping with investigations and so on and so forth, because we would realize the real truth. And so they don't want us. And not only that, you have people in the diaspora who have offered self and service to Jamaica, and in every instance they've been rebuffed. People have said, no, we don't want you here. No, we don't need you here. Mm-hmm. And so it's difficult for us to work with them. Now, it's difficult to work with somebody if they don't want to work with you. If they say we have no interest in working with you, it's a non-starter. It's difficult. No. Another thing is that if the caller can recall, last December, the Prime Minister and the Police Commissioner came up to Washington, D.C. Why? Because they wanted to develop a relationship with the FBI and other U.S. law enforcement agencies, and they came up ostensibly to provide names of people here who were responsible for shipping guns back home, right? Mm-hmm. I won't even go into how ludicrous that meeting was, how it took place, who the people who were in attendance and the briefings and so on and so forth, except to say, we haven't heard anything from the Prime Minister and the Police Commissioner since. We have the months to word. We haven't heard anything saying that, hey, we gave them the name, they caught this guy, they caught this girl, and they stopped this shipment down. That's number one. Number two, Jamaica, by the government's own admission, Jamaica has more than 120 illegal points of entry. So if you have porous borders, how do you expect to stop things from coming in? It's one thing to blame somebody from shipping things into your borders, but you also have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. And if you can't protect your borders, then it's just difficult. It's just difficult. And the idea that I'm going after the government, who else am I supposed to go after? I can't go after the opposition. They're not in charge. They don't have the power of the purse strings. They can't make policies. If you recall, it's 49 to 14 in Parliament. Yes. 49 members of the JP occupy MP seats in Parliament, and only 14. So, and so they can do whatever they want to do. And you saw what they did with the Constitution recently for the DPP, right? Right. They waited until some of the PNP senators were out of town, and then they voted. They got the 2/3 vote there, and of course they have the overwhelming majority of the members in the House of Parliament. In the House of Parliament. So they got the 2/3 vote. So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to make the argument that you should go after the opposition, because the opposition has no power right now. They have no power.
What we can do, and what we must make clear to the listeners here on WZPP and WZOP, and the viewers on the Mekwito Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel, is that we don't come on air with any willy-nilly thing. We do our research, and I would advise members of the public to do the research of the FINSA group in the 1990s, when the People's National Party was in power, and Omar Davis was Minister of Finance. And also to do research since the Holness administration come into power. What we do, we go and we do our research, and we get our research, and we come on air with it to enlighten the Jamaican people in the Jamaican diaspora and in Jamaica, to tell what is going on.
Let me just add a little piece, Jeffrey. If the PNP, if they were in power, I would be doing the same thing.
Of course.
I never voted in Jamaica. I have no allegiance to any party. I'm not beholden to anyone. All I'm doing is fighting for the people of Jamaica. That's all I'm doing. And to the listener, the caller, I hope he's still listening, because I'm going to ask him to make a pledge. Because
yes, I was just going to come to that. Hold on, Ratty. I was going to come to that. Mr. Rattigan, I want you to tell members of the Jamaican diaspora here, and also on my Mekwe Talk YouTube channel, that we don't come on here just to chat. We are going to organize ourselves and to do things. I want you to tell members of the diaspora here in South Florida what you have planned. What is the legal fund all about? And it's just it is not just Rattigan doing it. A whole group of people is behind this. Tell us what it's all about, Mr. Rattigan.
Okay, glad you asked the question, and I'm hoping that the caller is listening as well, because, and I mean, the point he made was an outstanding one, when he basically said, in addition to the other point he made, when he said that, essentially, what are you doing? You being collectively, what are we doing to help address the crime issues in Jamaica? Well, I told him what we tried to do, and we were unsuccessful in terms of petitioning the Minister of National Security to have law enforcement officials come and help, and that offer was refused. So what we've done is we're not sitting idly by and just watching our people die like dogs in the street every day. What we've done is we've established something called the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. It's OJLDF. Remember that, caller. One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. And you can go to the website. It's just started about 6-7 weeks ago. It's OJLDF.org. 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 One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation.org. And here's the purpose of that organization. The purpose of the organization is to hold Jamaican governments, plural, accountable. This government and subsequent governments. So if the PNP should win the election, we're going to hold them accountable too. And here's how we're going to hold them accountable. And I'm just giving this in a nutshell. 3 ways. One is we're going to be filing lawsuits. Whether we can get jurisdiction in America, the UK, Canada, Jamaica, we don't care where. Mars, we don't care where. Once we can get jurisdiction, we're going to file lawsuits to compel them to act in an accountable manner. 2, we're going to be doing public relations campaign. For example, the beach issue, where I'm sure this is an appealing issue to every Jamaican. Not every, the only Jamaicans who can use a beach, like for example, operated by Sandals, is if you're a guest or you're a friend of the manager or the owner. But Jamaicans don't have unfettered access to beaches in Jamaica. So a public relations campaign around that would be helpful. And we know that the Prime Minister, with the stroke of a pen, can change all of this, but he hasn't. And the Prime Minister before him didn't, and the one before him didn't. So this is an issue that spans across JLP and PNP, different administrations. And so we're trying to get this Prime Minister now to make the change. And the third avenue of holding people accountable is to conduct background investigations into politicians we believe to be corrupt. So we're going to be looking into their backgrounds to see what they have, not only in Jamaica, but overseas. And if we can, this will filter into the first avenue, which is to bring lawsuits. Mm-hmm. So we can bring lawsuits. We can also work with law enforcement agencies in and outside of Jamaica. Now, what we ask people to do is to go to the website, and you can make a donation using your bank card, your credit card, or Zelle using the email address that's there. And so far, what we've done is we have one lawsuit. Actually, I started the lawsuit. It's taken over by the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. That lawsuit, we expect a ruling tomorrow at 9:30. Mm-hmm. It was filed in the Supreme Court in Jamaica against a minister of government, and we expect a ruling tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe this week or next week, we plan to file another lawsuit, and that lawsuit has to deal with donor funds that we started out talking about, funds that were earmarked for the Jamaican people, not for the Jamaican government or their friends or cronies, but for the Jamaican people, and those people never received the benefit of those funds. So now we're going to hold them responsible. We're going to be filing a lawsuit and asking for the paperwork, asking for a judge to make a decision, and we're going to make this, we're going to turn it into avenue number 2, which is a public relations campaign, where we're going to reach out to people in the international media and let them know that this is what's going on with donor funds coming into Jamaica. It's unaccounted for. There is no accountability. People don't have any paperwork. At least that's what they're saying. And we highlight the issue so that we can effect change. Those are some of the things we're doing, Carla. And I hope you'll join us. You'll join us and support the effort.
Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent. This is what we're doing. Just want to tell everyone here who is listening to us on the Make We Talk YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Mr. Rattigan, tell us, what is the email address? Where can we go and find the one Jamaica Legal Defense Fund? Where can we find that? How does it go? Go ahead.
Yeah, all you have to do is just Google ojldf.org, One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation.org. And when you go there, everything is there. You'll see the payment structure. You'll see our mission. You'll see some articles. And like I said, it's a work in progress because it just started about 7 weeks ago. So everything is there. We also have the lawsuit that we expect to get a ruling tomorrow. All the paperwork is there on that website. You can go look at it, take a look at it, and make up your mind as to whether or not you think that this person is guilty of what we have accused the person of. And then we have some articles from Ambassador Curtis Ward. We have articles from Kenny Thompson, a professor up at UWI, and again, like I said, it's just it's a work in progress. And if you people out there in we used to say radio land, but if you people out there in the listening audience, if you have, go ahead and visit the website, and if you have advice for us as to how to make it better, what you would like to see there, because this is for all of us, not just for me and Mr. Tavares, it's for all of us. And this is what we're trying to do for the benefit of our peace of the rock, of our homeland, our jewel. And so if you have criticism, we take criticism too. We also take compliment. But to be honest with you, I prefer taking the criticism because that's only going to improve us. So if you have criticism, if you have advice, level them at us so that we can make this platform better than it is, because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit the people that we love, the people that we care about, and also our homeland. Because all of us, at the end of the day, we want to go back home, and we want to go back home and experience peace, safety, security, tranquility, and prosperity.
Indeed.
So that's where we are.
Mr. Rattigan, we don't have enough time leaving the program here. One of our viewers, both you and I viewers, who is on YouTube, Anthony R. Apparently his nephew was found dead. If I see reading this correctly, yes. We just want to say our condolence to him and his family.
Indeed.
Mr. Rattigan, based on all of this that is going on, we have a judgment coming down tomorrow pertaining to a lawsuit that you put against a minister. Tell members of the diaspora here in South Florida, how can they help? And let me make something clear. I am not a member of any political party. Now, do I want to be a member of any political party? I may have a name that stem whatever. So be it. I am a Jamaican, and like I always said, we came to this rock by labor plane, not by aeroplane or party plane. We may drive a Jeep and signal a plane. But we are Jamaicans, and we remain Jamaicans. And we must stand up for this Mr. Rock of ours. And I want you, Mr. Rattigan, to tell the people slowly how can they assist in helping stem the corruption that is going on in Jamaica? Because over 1/3 of $1 trillion is not accountable for.
Yeah, are accountable for in some strange ways. We don't see the full accounting. We don't get the full accounting. And let me just add something to the people, and just say to the folks that I started up by saying I don't have an affiliation, a party affiliation. I've never supported a political party in Jamaica, financially or otherwise. I don't care about politics. I don't care about party. I care about people and policies. That's all I care about. And as long as they can do that, as long as the government is doing that, they won't hear from me. Now, folks, what I need you to do, in addition to supporting the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, is you can tune into my program every Saturday at 3 o'clock. It's on YouTube and on Reggae Global Radio. YouTube, Reggae Global Radio. It's called Reason with Rattigan. Reason with Rattigan. Just go to YouTube any Saturday at 3 o'clock. And we have some fantastic guests come on every week, and the topics are very relevant, and we go on sometimes for hours because people just don't want us to go. So we don't want us to terminate the program. So we just keep going on and on. This week we're going to be having on Ambassador Samba, former High Commissioner to the Jamaican High Commissioner to the UK.
That's former Jamaican Ambassador to the United Kingdom, Aluma Samba.
Yes. And we're also going to have on former Jamaican Ambassador to the United Nations, Curtis Ward. We're going to have on the Junior Minister in the opposition for Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Yes, Christopher Henry. And we're going to have on Isaac Buchanan, our resident attorney, and Herb Nelson, our resident intelligence analyst and security advisor. And of course, you'll have me. And we may have a few more guests. But with the topic this week, we'll focus on a few things. We're going to be focused on the recent fiasco at the UN. We're going to be focused on including the involvement of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and we're also going to be focused on Dr. Grace McLean, the former acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, where over $100 million went missing on her watch, and allegedly she was responsible for a $10 million going to an organization. And what happened was the government was supposed to bring a surcharge action against her so that they could recover the funds from her. And they had 3 years to do it. And the 3 years ended sometime this year, and the government did not bring the action. They failed to bring the action, so the judge threw out the case. But we have another route where we can actually bring her to justice. So we're going to be talking about that. And again, folks, it's all about holding government accountable. And if you have information about government not being accountable, send it to us on the website. And if you have it about the opposition, send it to us too. Because we don't care about party. As I said, we don't care about party and we don't care about color. We care about the people of Jamaica. And at the end of the day, whether it's the opposition or the government, whenever corruption is involved, the only people who will suffer are primarily the poor people.
Yes.
Primarily the poor people. Because all of these donor funds we're talking about, most of the funds did not come from people living up on Beverly Hills, Jack Hills, Red Hills. No. Most of it comes from poor people to help lift them out of poverty, to help provide them with an avenue for success. Right? Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen. A lot of the money ended up elsewhere. And we are here to prevent that from happening. So join the movement, One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, and join us every Saturday, Reason with Rattigan on YouTube or Reggae Global Radio. And of course, you have to join my good friend, Jeffrey Tavares on Make We Talk and on WZZP, where you get the latest breaking news about what's going on in Jamaica. So criticize us if you will. But when you see that we're right, join us. Join us. If you're hesitant because you think that we're wrong, listen to the facts. And then once you saw it through it and you say, oh, you know what? The man has speak the truth enough. And yes, I believe in them and I can support whatever they're doing. Then follow your conscience and come, because that's the only way we're going to be able to do it. Every mickle make a muckle. One cocoa full basket. We need every hand we need on deck. Every hand on deck. And that's the way we're going to change the system in Jamaica. I can't do it alone, but the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Indeed.
And we're taking the first step. So there you go.
And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe with Reasons with Rattigan and the YouTube channel also. Until you hear my voice again, I want to say thanks to my good friend Wilfred Rattigan, former retired FBI agent, attorney at law, talk show host, and a man who hailed from Waterhouse.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother, private man.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you very much.
Take care. Be well. Bye-bye. To all your listening audience as well. Bye-bye.
Okay, sir. Until you hear my voice again, I'm Jeffrey Tavares saying so long. May God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Have a good day, everyone.
You're listening to WZOP 92.7 LP FM.